What's up? We're going to be getting into some coding today. It's going to be fun because we're doing unit tests, baby. Now, really, probably the least fun part of writing software, is writing tests. But we're going to do it anyway because we are looking at working with Vitest, which is a hot new testing library for JavaScript. Yesterday, we did some tests for this function that does some stuff. This is our function that we're going to be testing today. It's quite a big one. It mostly just generates some HTML, an entire HTML document. So it's kind of a lot, but we do that because we are working with Akamai Edge workers, and they let us do cool stuff like having little distributed nodes around the world. So yeah, today I'm just generating the return value as a string. Oh, Nugget, come here. Come here. Come here, come here, come here. Come here. Oh, come here. I got my sidekick. Nugget. Let's get full view. Hold on, come here. How you doing? Let's boost you up into the full screen mode. Oh, did you know that when dogs yawn, that's a sign of discomfort or anxiety? Also lip licking, which he just showed us 2 of those. Oh, there's another. Oh, a double. All right, I'll put you down. I love you though. There you go. Go in your place. You want to sit and lay down? I'll give you a treat. Yeah. This was a coding show, but now it's a Nugget appreciation show. All right, Nugget is taken care of. He is treated. Let's go back to our code. And let's see what are the tests that we want to write. So we have our tests here. We did some snapshot testing yesterday, which is pretty cool and handy way, especially if you're generating HTML. Handy way to capture a lot of UI tests in one. They can be a little bit fragile because if you change anything at all, it's going to report a broken test, but it covers a lot. So we'll leave that as it is. What I want to get to next is I want to start playing with this request object and making sure that some of our things are being called. So like get variable is being called with, we're getting our Open Weather API and our GeoAppify API keys. So let's see what we've got there. We've got our fake request object. So, oh, you're so cute. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Yeah, that's a good boy. Nugget gets another treat. He's not usually in here coding with me, but he is today. Boop. And he just gets treats for just being a dog because I'm a sucker. Okay, so let's see where we're going. We've got our response. We are calling this. What's his name? His name is Nugget. He's a cutie. Oh, he's also disgusting, but he's cute. So we let him get away with coughing up random stuff on his bed. Right. So what we want to test right now is we want to make sure that that what? Oh yeah, I was looking at the Vite documentation today, and apparently test has an alias. So test is a whatever thing that we're bringing in. It actually has an alias called it. So in many testing libraries, you'll see the test sort of test function be described as it. And the reason people do this is because sometimes people want their tests to read like a string. So if I come here, I can read, and usually you don't have this concurrent thing. So you'll see a test that's written like it returns a date in blah, 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 and it accepts a date number. So that's what I came from. I discovered that is available in Vite. I also discovered something that you see how we have all of these concurrent test cases. We actually don't need to do that. We can say describe concurrent tests, and then we can get rid of all of these concurrent things. That was a super handy thing that I discovered today. And the other thing I discovered today that is really handy is well, let's do that for this too. Describe concurrent, and then we're going to get rid of all these. So we're doing a little bit of a refactor today. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, missed a couple. Doot. Cool. So those will all run concurrently. And then I guess I need to run my test, right? Stop the dev server, npm run test. And then the other, probably the coolest thing that I discovered today, and I don't know if this was a feature that they stole from Jest, was, let's see, all of these, I think all of these are going to be concurrent because we're not, I better not break that to begin with. But the coolest thing I found was, so this is going to run all of my tests and they're all going to go and blah, blah, blah. Returns a valid response object. That is the test that we're writing right now. That is our broken test. So you see how I have all of these tests running, but I know that these are fine. I actually don't really want these tests to run, and I just don't want the extra noise from these tests running. So what I can do is I can say only, and what only does, let's see if it's written here. No, just the type definition. If I hit save now, it's not going to do anything. So that's handy. No, but cool. It did something. So I'm going to rerun all my tests, and it's going to say it's rerunning tests, rerun all, because I haven't provided a file name for it to match. But then if we look at the test that actually ran, and we look at this sort of block of section here, it's skipping all of my tests except for the one that I marked as only. So that's a super handy way to wipe out all of the other tests while you're working on the one that you're working on. It might make your tests run faster, assuming not everything is running concurrently. Most likely, it'll make your tests run faster. And it also reduces some of the noise. If all of these are kind of making a lot of extra noise up here, we can limit it to just our one test and see just the one that's failing. So now this is having an issue because this is all written incorrectly, but that's fine. I need to name this test correctly, and I want to say that it gets the API keys from the variables. So it only gets the API keys from the from the whatever env variables. So I'm going to wait for my function to run, and then I'm going to say that I expect. So here, because we're passing in a request object, that's how we define this function. I expect that request to have a method called getVariable, and I expect that method to be called twice. I think I saw they mentioned this YouTube video I saw this morning. They mentioned what? The which part? Mentioned something. getVariable, maybe? So I'm going to keep going, but I expect my fake request object, only the testing. Oh yeah, the only testing part. Yeah, I just noticed that today. Is pretty awesome. That's actually like what I usually do and what I recommended in other videos is just go through all of your stuff and comment it out. And that's so tedious because then I don't know, you can accidentally, it's a pain. Having this only thing is super useful as someone that has written a lot of tests before. So, okay, we're going to call getVariable, and it's not important that we actually pass in this string because Wait. I have this wrong. No, I expect, yes, okay, it is important to that string we have. So I expect fake request object dot get variable, and I expect it to be called with this API key, and I expect it to be called with this, right? Cool. Let's see if that's running. Okay, that's going to rerun. It looks like that passed. We have this obsolete thing again. I have no idea what's going on with that. And hitting U doesn't seem to do anything, but that's all right. We'll worry about that another time. So that successfully gets our geo or our API keys. And then we have the next line of logic is we do expect create API to get called. This is going to be an interesting one. So what's going on here is I need to test both the logic of this function, but then I also have to do something that's kind of complicated, is that I need create API. Well, I guess I just need to mock that node fetch, which we're doing, because I know eventually I'm going to make some fetch requests. Okay, that problem is solved. So next, we know that create API is going to work. We know that we've written tests for create API, so we don't need to actually test that this logic, that our API has a method called oneCall or a method called get geolocation. We don't need to worry about that because that's been tested. We do need to check that, I guess, get the cookie header is being called. I don't know. This part is kind of confusing because it's not super logic heavy. I think I'm going to skip writing tests for that. The part that I do want to check is this, that if my query has a location, then we actually get that. So, man, that is going to be tricky to test. Okay, let's get down to the part that's a little bit easier. Guaranteed, I want to check that API get geolocation is called, which means I really want to check that that fetch request is being made. So let's write our next test so we can get rid of this only, and we can move on to the next one and say it only does something. It's going to be an async method or function, and close that parentheses. So it only requests, what am I going to say? It only makes grabs the geolocation. It only gets the geolocation from geoappify. That should be good enough. And then here's where we're going to get into something kind of interesting. So we've got this fetch mocker, and it's going to eventually return this JSON with our favorite animal. So one thing that we need to do is actually, we're going to need to make this JSON come back and like modify and look a little bit different. We cannot do that from the inside of this function. We can only modify it from outside using these testing tools. So how are we going to do this? Let's see. First things first, I need to call my function, right? There it is with my fake request data or object. And I'm going to say that I expect fetch to be called. Let's start with just that. I just expect fetch to be called. Make sure things are working correctly. I'm going to copy this. Okay, it looks like that's working. So I expect fetch to be called. And what do I expect it to be called with? So get geolocation. Well, I expect it to be called with, where are we? Create API. So first, I expect it to be called with this, right? No, get geolocation. Expect it to be called with this. Something like this. I'm going to copy all this stuff. Going to get rid of it and come down to my test. And let's build out a little bit of the data that we expect it to be called with. Get rid of that. Get rid of the actual HTTP request. This is what I expect it to be called with. And then I need to build my query thing. Query is going to be URL search params, no big deal. And I expect it to be called with some location object. So by default, this location is going to come from, well, the cookies if they exist, which they won't. The query if it exists, which it won't to begin with. I don't think. Query is undefined. Yeah. We're going to have to, okay, we're going to mock get header. Great. Eventually. So the location is going to come from the city, region, and country, right? So I expect my text here to be city, region, and country, which is also itself going to come from this fake request object user location. So let's do this. Let's say const equals fake request object user location, and that's going to be city, region, and country. Okay, that's my test. I need my GeoAppify API key, which technically I need to get that information. This is when tests can get really complicated. So this is a good example of destruct. Like, I think this is a good example. This is the best. This is the best I can write tests. So let me put it that way. So get variable, right? What we need to do is we need to ensure that our geolocation API call or our fetch call here. Let me rewind. The geolocation test the test that we're trying to do here is we're saying that we are going to call this get geolocation API call. The way we are asserting that that is happening is by saying, well, we expect fetch to be called with this information. Why do we expect fetch to be called with this information? That is because when we execute get geolocation, we know that we're going to execute HTTP request, which itself is going to pass that data to fetch, right? With this URL. So, but in this function, we're also setting up some data. So we're taking the text that comes in and we're appending another query parameter, which is the API key. So where is this API key coming from? Well, it gets pulled in when we create the API, and we create the API up here. And we create the API with whatever variable we get back from the request to get environment variables. Hope that was clear. How's that sounding? Any questions there so far? It's kind of convoluted. And maybe this is because I'm not good at writing functions, but I think this function makes sense. And it's just, would you rather have a complicated function with easy tests or complicated tests with easy to understand functions? For me, I think this function is easier to understand at the cost of being harder to write tests for. So let's continue. Unless you got questions, let me know. But what we essentially need to do is figure out what this GeoAppify API key value is. And since we're using this request.get variable, and we're making this request object with a function called get variable, which is a mocked function, we can actually grab a reference to that mocked function. So we can say const mocked, what is it? Mocked variables equals fake request object dot get variable. We know that that is a mock, so we're going to say grab the mock instance. I don't want the calls. I actually want the returns. Let me start with just that. Start with that, and I think if I say console log mocked variables, that should spit out something. Up here, instance results. So I want the results. And that is a getter that should run one more time. And that should tell me, here are the results. Perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. So my mocked function, when this function executes, my little mocked function gets executed twice, once with this value, once with this value. In my test, after I execute my function, I can get those. Let's see. This is actually going to be variable say mocked variable results is that I want to grab the second value because that is the one associated with the second time that it gets called. So const GeoAppify API key equals mocked variable results, the second value in those results, or the second value, and because that's an object, we get the value property off of that object. That is very complicated, and I hope that it makes sense. Lastly, we rebuild our URL search params with our API key, with our city, country, and region, and then we expect fetch to be called with that value. Let's see if we're any good at our job. Booyah! How about that? Passing test. And Nugget is not impressed. Hey, why don't you get in your spot? Go to place. I'll give you a treat. Why don't you go to your place? Yeah, you know. Go to your place. There you go. Lay down. That's it. He's a little bit anxious. First try. I would hardly call that first try. That was, I don't know. I've had a lot of failed tries to make this look somewhat easy. It actually looks pretty terrible. Like, I hate looking at this code, but I also don't know if there's a better way because unfortunately, like I said, this code is, I mean, it's not beautiful code either, but I think it is pretty easy to understand, right? We get some environment variables, we create our API instance, we set up a couple other constants, and then we do a little bit of logic to figure out the location, and then we do a couple things to figure out, like, make our fetch requests. I think this is pretty intuitive, and if that means that this needs to be really awkward, well, I rarely ever look at the tests after they're written, unless they break. So write good tests once, and you never have to really deal with them again. So that's really handy. It gets the geolocation from GeoAppify. I think we've satisfied that test. Next is we're going to have to do some other sort of magic-y jumping through hoops to check the weather data. So here we're going to look at a test that looks very similar. Yep. We'll get rid of that. Oh, see, I already noticed this little only flag. That's going to be dangerous because it's very easy to forget that's there. And then you'll end up with a bunch of tests that never run. I don't know if I like that. It's much more obvious if you like comment out a bunch of stuff and then, yeah, uh, that should be a little red flag. Maybe there's like an ESLint rule to remove these from ever going to production. Anyway, let's see. So the next one is I want to say, uh, so if geolocation features length, then we want to get some weather data. So it gets the weather data if you have a geolocation. That is like the theory of this test. So if we have, let's see, basically we're testing this block here. If we have some geolocation data, then we want to grab that information. And in order to test this now, we need this information. So in order to get this information, we need to do some magicry here. And here we're going to run into a new thing that we haven't covered on any other of our tests or of our streams before. Before we call our function, we need to do some magic and we need to say, hey, fetch. You know how fetch, like you're a mocked little thing now. You're a mock. Well, this first time that you run, we're gonna say what is it? Fetch dot mock resolved value once. So what's going on here is, here we are taking this fetch that we're going to be mocking eventually, right? And we're creating a function that returns whatever the resolved value. Gonna head out a little early. All right. Hey, thanks. Do you think Vitest will blow up in 2022? I think it's blowing up right now, to be honest. It has, if you follow the State of JS survey, it had like 3% awareness and like 80 or 90% satisfaction. So it means like very few people know about it, but everyone that is using it is pretty happy with it. So, and it's getting a whole bunch of marketing, and yeah, I think it's going to blow up. I think the JavaScript ecosystem is really craving a testing framework that is as robust as Jest, but also supports ES modules, which Jest does not. So it's pretty lovely. If you want to get into testing, I'd recommend it. I like that it's batteries included, uh, which is not the same for a lot of testing tools. And it's fast. So no complaints on my end so far. Anyway, Kotin, thank you for hanging out today. Appreciate it. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate the support. And I'm going to, keep going on this one thing. If you've got a couple of minutes, I would recommend sticking around for this. But essentially what we're doing is we're making a mock of fetch here. And this is going to be the resolved value is like, this is what we're mocking. It's a function that returns or resolves to an object, and that object has JSON. And this is what it's always going to do every single time. Yeah. I think if you've got the time, I mean, I don't know. I didn't get into testing until much later on in my career, so I don't know how far along you are. I think the most valuable skill you can develop is being able to create projects. Just keep creating projects, creating projects. And eventually you get to a point where if your projects are really important to you and you're getting a lot of bugs and you want to avoid having those bugs, that's when learning how to write tests is important. So, but anyway, what I was going to get to is fetch right now is going to be this like mocked function. And every time fetch runs, because of how we've defined it, it's going to return an object. And that object is going to have a JSON method on it. And that JSON method itself is going to return an object with favorite animal, right? And it's going to be some dog. So this is kind of what it looks like. Fetch is a function. It returns an object. On that object, we have JSON, which returns, and it doesn't even return, it resolves. So it's a promise, right? So what we want to do is just this one time, just the first time that fetch runs, we want to, instead of returning that dog, we want to return something that looks like this geolocation object. So what do I need? I'm going to copy this so I have a reference to it and say that this is essentially what I'm recreating. So I'm going to say fetch.mock resolved value. And because I only want it to happen the first time that fetch runs, I'm going to say mock resolved value once. So now that is going to resolve to a JSON object. And that, oh, hey, buddy, come here, come here, come here. There you go, there you go. And in this case, JSON, we don't really care what JSON is. It can be a just mock. It doesn't really matter because we're just going to fake it here. Actually, yeah, I'm going to make a constant here really quick. Const, let's say fake geolocation is going to equal, so I want this to be the result. It's going to be an object, or it's going to be what is it? An object with features, which is an array. And the first item in that array is an object with a lat of something and a long of something, right? So this fake geolocation object is what I want as this geolocation return. This isn't quite right. This actually needs to be properties. And then that is an object with the latitude and longitude. Okay. And essentially what I want is this mock resolve value from fetch. The first time it runs, it needs to return an object. On that object, we need a JSON method, which returns essentially a promise that resolves to my fake geolocation data. So I hope that that was kind of clear what's going on. I think I'm going to make this a little bit simpler. Let's just say const lat lon is going to equal that, and then properties is going to be lat lon, and then this fake geolocation object I'm going to pull out of there and just put it in there. So there we go. Now, why am I doing it this way? Because I want to be able to reference this lat long thing later on. Because that lat lon, the latitude and longitude, is what's going to be passed to this one call, which itself is going to be passed to fetch, which itself is what I'm going to be testing down here. Hopefully that's clear. It's kind of a complicated thing, but this is the way that I like to write tests. I think this will work pretty well. So fetch mock resolve value once is going to be an object with a JSON method. That JSON method, let's clean this up. So JSON, it's a method that returns. There you go. Returns promise.resolve. Or I guess what I could do is actually just call that async JSON. And then I don't even need this promise resolve. That's a handy little trick. Cool. that should be working fine. We're going to wait for our response provider, and then I need to grab my other API key from here, my open weather API key. There, that is going to be the first time it was called. Uh, I don't really care now about the city, region, or country because that's going to resolve no matter what. So I don't need this dude. I don't need my text. What I do need is what is going to be passed into this URL search params. So because we're doing one call, it should look something like this. Copy that, paste that there. Parameters. Let's ignore. Oh, did I get something wrong? No, I should have that. Okay, so I do need this. What happened to that? Did I accidentally delete that somehow? Oh, no. I totally didn't. I just pasted this in the wrong spot. Okay, so we've got our open weather API key, and then our URL search param should look something like this. App ID should be that. The units we're going to put in there. My actual API endpoint should be there. And then the one difference that I have here is that I need to pass in the lat and lon. So those are the default values. And then we'll say lat is that, lon is that. That should be my test. And this should work. And it's not working. Get weather data if we have a geolocation. Cannot read properties undefined reading. Ah, so now we do actually have some data coming back. Okay, that's interesting. Because this weather data is going to come back with some information. This all makes sense. So this weather data is going to come back with some information at some point, which means we need to mock the weather data. So every time that weather data comes back with some information. So I know what I'm going to do. What I need to do is my test here. This actually should mock resolve value. This should be returned to nothing. JSON is going to return. It's going to be an async or it's just mock resolve value undefined. So yeah, JSON is going to return nothing, which means every time it runs, that is correct. Every time it returns no data. So that's actually probably not what I want. What I want is what I was doing a moment ago. So every time that this weather data comes back, every time this fetch comes back, I basically need to recreate what's going on. Oh, and this is going to be a pain in my butt because it's a lot of data that I'm going to have to fake. Oh boy. Okay, so well, let's do it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is grab all of the instances of the current weather, and I'm going to put that up here somewhere. Now it's fake weather data equals an object. I totally messed that up. Okay, so what I want is all the instances of current weather. I want to grab the next property, and I'm going to create an object with current, which is an object and has all of these properties. Cool. Good enough. Let's go. Oops. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Let's go each line, move over. Oops. Make a property, set it to whatever, an empty string. I'm actually going to set it to undefined and hit save. Cool. There's my object. Weather exists multiple times, so let's get rid of weather, and wind degree multiple times. That's what I need to recreate. That's going to be a number. So my current weather is going to be some number. I don't know. That's like a number. I think I'm going to go ahead and take a chance and make this static data. So no randomly generated weather data. Okay, let me do this one more time. We're going to get the current weather. Current weather is going to be an array with an object that, an icon, and a description. Oops. Undefined, and description is undefined. Okay. Has my current weather, current thing, current. Next, my weather data hourly. Hourly is going to be an array of objects where the hour has some properties on it. Copy that. Hour has all of these properties on it. We'll get rid of that. Let's see. Undefined. Get rid of that number. And then we'll close that object. Weather is written twice. Weather should actually here also be an array. And our weather icon and description. Cool. With a description and an icon. Great. So far, we're doing excellent. We're creating a bunch of fake weather data. We've got our hourly. We've got our current. Now I just need daily. Daily is going to look very similar to that, I imagine. Daily. And the only difference with daily is our day. Oops, let's see. Day. Has all of these values on it. So doot. Move over. That's undefined. Say undefined. Okay, So where are we? That's been written twice. Temp has been written twice. Weather has been written twice. Uh, temp, temp, clouds, pop, UV, and humidity was the only thing that wasn't on our daily. So that is our fake weather data object. That is the JSON response that we actually expect to get back. Here. Mock resolved value is fake weather data. So with that, what do we have? Fake weather cannot access fake weather data before it's initialized. Ah, that's really annoying and unfortunate. Okay, I have another trick I'm going to do. We're going to say var fake weather data. Get rid of that. And then here we'll say fake weather data equals that value. And then hopefully well, I guess this doesn't need to be var. This can be let, maybe? Nope, that needs to be var. That way it gets initialized and then hoisted up. And then we have format date, invalid time value. Cool. DT. Let's see if we can set that to, I don't know. What's a good time? I'm going to do, what's a good time? I wish I knew Nugget's birthday. And I don't not know Nugget's birthday because I'm a bad dog parent. I don't know Nugget's birthday because he was adopted. So I don't know when he was born. Let's see. Let's come up with a good time. I might just grab like the time right now. Yeah, let's do that. Let's grab the time right now. Let's go over here. Let's go to our console and just do date.now. There we go. Paste it there. Invalid group length in numeric value. Oh, I do not like that. That is not a thing that I like. Numeric separator style. Ooh, let's turn that off. Yes, lint. Unicorn stuff. Yeah, turn that off. Should be unicorn. I like to have these in alphabetical order. So that is off now. Go back to our code. Close that. I should save that. Close it. Reopen it. No more red squigglies. Okay, cool. Let's say, I don't know, const time equals that. And I'm going to get rid of all of the instances and say time. I don't like that either. Oh, shoot. No. Say 1, 2, 3. Fake date. Sure. Here's a number. Let's see how this is looking. Okay. Temp.day. Temp.day. So temp. Okay. Temp of undefined should actually be an object with day of undefined. Let's try that. That should actually read everything at least. All of our tests pass. Our UI should actually be out of date at this point. Rerunning tests, update snapshot. Okay. 2 obsolete snapshots. Man, this is buggy. I'm gonna have to report that. So so what have we got here? In our tests, in our test file, we have some fake weather data coming in now. So I should see, because I've updated my snapshots, I should see some actual weather data. And I do not, because it says, oh, no weather data was found. So let me try this. I'm going to close that. Try running my update snapshot script. And I expect my snapshot file to actually change at this point, because now we're providing some fake weather data when that fake JSON request comes back. And it looks like we did not. So that's interesting. We don't have any snapshots. Excellent. Great. That's handy. Cool. Thanks, Vite. I don't know what to say about. Oh. I know why we don't have updated snapshots is because we're only running this test. Okay, that's fine. All right. So next thing is next. I expect this to be called. Why did I go down that trail of creating all that fake weather data? Was so that we wouldn't have errors. Okay. And we don't. So our test is working. This is great. And I expect my API to be called with those things. It looks like it's working. So that's it for that test. Let me write one more test before we call it a day. So let's go here. This is going to be the final test. And I don't think I'm going to write tests for the query and the cookie stuff. I think we're going to call it with that because I want to get onto the Cypress stuff tomorrow. Tomorrow? No, I'm not here tomorrow. I will be here doing that Monday. But what I'm working on now is going to be I want to check this very important thing here where we say if we have weather data or if we don't have weather data, we're going to just show, hey, we don't have weather data. And if we do, then we show the weather data. So with my snapshots, I can capture the value of both of those. And then what I want to do yeah. Yes, this should be fine. What I want to do is write another test that looks maybe kind of like that one. Actually, not like that one. I want to write another test that looks like this one and say the UI without weather data matches the snapshot. Okay, cool. We've got our fake request object. Why was I using that? Oh yeah, response provider, response to match that. Because what was I doing? Oh yeah, that's the return value from the, okay, cool. This looks good. We do want to use a static value for the user location. And the only thing that I need to change here is I need to modify the fetch resolved value. Oh, this is confusing. I need to fake this. Oh, where is my test? Okay. The first time fetch is called, it needs to return with something. The second time fetch is called, it needs to return with something. Well, oh boy, this is going to be a challenge. I need these blocks not to run concurrently because they are going to be messing around with fetch. So let's get rid of that. And then I need my fetch requests to do a couple of things. There's my fake data. Resolved value. All right, let's do this. Fake weather data. Fake date, fake weather data equals that. Okay, let's say response is going to equal to an object with a JSON property on it. So resolved value once is going to be something like this. Resolved value once is going to be an object with JSON. Oh man, this is a pain. Okay, yes, lat and lon of that. I need geolocation to have features. Okay, needs to look something like this. Oof. Object with features, which is an array. For the first item has properties of lat is 0, lon is 0. Close all that off. I think that's right, hopefully. And then I'll just pull this back out. Okay. And then I basically need to recreate this. This is a very annoying thing, but this is how we do it. So UI without weather data. We're going to say fetch dot mock resolved value once. Is that mock resolved value once. JSON, this time we don't have weather data. And I think I need another parentheses, and that is not quite right. What do I have wrong here? Mock resolved value once. Oh, that's my problem. Okay, this looks right. Boy, we basically hijack what fetch is doing, come with a positive response, come with a negative response. Or I guess I could have just faked this bad response. Let's try that. Undefined. Undefined. Let's close this or comment that out. That should give us no weather data back. Now, oh, no, I lied. That is going to be an object with features. Or just an empty object. That's fine. Empty object works in this case. Our test runs. Come on, come on, come on. Feeling it. Feeling like I did it right. Oh, how cool is that? Okay, so if I did this right, we should have 2 snapshot tests now. One with no weather data, one with some weather data. Let's see if we've got this. And this would be the end of my test. This was a long test. Snapshots. Main. We have 1 bit of weather data, and this one has no weather data for Pallet Town. And this second one has still no weather data for Pallet Town. Where's my actual correct test? Well, the only way I can think to test this is to get in here and console log weather data. Okay, all of my tests are passing. In some cases, I am getting some weather data back. Come here. Good place. Good place. Stay there. I'll be down in a moment. All right, let me try this from scratch. Clear everything out one more time. It's interesting to watch me code. What is interesting about watching me code? All of the mistakes. So our tests are passing. I'm getting my data as expected. I'm getting the values in my data. I do have weather data. The check to see whether to show no weather data or some weather data. Do you think How far along are you, Urchin, on your coding journey? Do you? I can't understand if you're making fun of me or not. No, I'm sure you're not making fun of me, but uh, yeah, I'd like to understand more about like what part you think you could never do. I do understand actually that writing tests can be a massive pain, especially when you're juggling all of this logic with fetch requests and trying to mock all this stuff and say, well, if this is happening here, then that needs to happen there, and blah blah blah. Um, Nevertheless, I think you can do it. What I don't understand though is why is my at this point? Oh, I know what's happening. I am not resetting my fetch 5 weeks in Leon's course. I mean, eventually I'll be able to but now it's like Netflix. Yeah, I need to start doing some saucy drama and keep you watching. And maybe I should do like recaps at the beginning of my show and like spoilers at the end of my for the next show. No, probably not. Okay, what I want to do is we have VI. I want to do a before each. And what we learned in one of the previous streams is that we need to reset some of our mocks. So before each, we are going to fetch dot mock clear or clear mock, something like that. Yo, what's up, y'all? Oh, did y'all just raid me? That's what happened. I'm just at the end of my show, though. Rugmat coming in with these bombs. I think they're bombs. What is that? Oh no, it's all good. I'm happy that you're here anyway. I need to figure out what is going to be our time because Alex, I thought that you streamed at 2. Well, 2 my time because you're central, right? So what would that be? 4? Um So I'm like, yeah, that works out because then if you do an hour, we're good. But I guess you do longer than an hour. Well, what we did today, you start at 5 Eastern. Yeah, so that's 2 my time. But then how long do you go? 2 hours? About 2 hours? Should be 7 Eastern now, yeah. What did I have? Let's see. Gotcha. Yeah, so I'm writing tests and I'm in one of those weird situations where all of my tests are passing and I don't know why. Now, in fact, my tests should be passing, but I have some snapshots that should not be showing that there's no weather data for Pallet Town. Yeah, snapshot testing is really cool. What snapshot testing, for those of you that just joined and haven't been around, what snapshot testing does is it will create essentially like a JSON stringified version of whatever you pass in. So let's see, down here, I'm saying, hey, Vitest, I expect whatever this JSON object to be to match the snapshot. And the first time that it ever runs this test, it's going to say, do we have a snapshot? No. Cool. Let's take whatever that export, whatever that output is, and let's like save it to a file on the disk. And this is what that file on the disk looks like to me. And then the second time that this runs, it's going to check. And because it has that snapshot, it's going to say, do those 2 files match? And if it does, it's going to say, all gravy, baby. Your test matches from the last time you ran it. It's all good. If something has changed in that snapshot, it's going to say, hold up, big dog. You got something going on. You got some funky fish smell going on. So it's going to throw up its arm and say, stop the show. We got a broken test. You need to fix this thing. And the weird thing is that I'm doing some weird funkadelic stuff where I am creating a mock of a fetch request. So anytime it tries to make a network request, I'm going to intercept that network request and just return an object right away. And it's an object that looks like it's got that JSON method on it, which itself is going to return an object. But the weird thing is that I should be returning good, like this giant object of weather data. And if I have that giant object of weather data, which I'm validating that I have here, right? That's like my weather data. I should be getting a different value, because if we have weather data here, maybe I don't have weather data by that time. Pull it down here. So at this point, I don't even know. I guess what I want to do, you guys want to see something cool that Vite has that I was unaware of until today, is I can go down to my one test that I want to check and make sure that it's working correctly, and I can tag it with a method called only. And if I tag that, that's going to be the only test that runs. So, or at least the only test in that test suite. So, okay, we do have some undefined data. Where's my test suites? We have weather, we have undefined weather. I don't know. It seems to be broken. I mean, it seems to be like fake working, but it's good enough. I'm done testing. Testing is probably the most exciting thing to watch someone do on Twitch. So I'm surprised that there aren't more people here. But despite it being the most exciting bit of content you've probably ever put your eyeballs on, we're going to be moving on, not from testing entirely, but we're done unit testing. Not tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday. Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard, we are going to move on to checking out Cypress. So instead of running everything in a terminal like this and seeing, oh, cool, some tests passed, we're going to be looking at the actual weather app in a Cypress UI, and we can do some validation, like say, hey, what happens if we do a search, or what happens if we get no weather back, or what happens if the current weather is like really cold or really hot, or just do some validation. And I think we'll even do some accessibility checking. So that'll be fun. That is the end of my stream today, and now I need to figure out how do you raid someone. I should probably find someone to raid. What do I need to do? I've got my stream. How do I raid people? /raid and then just the person? Okay. On stream dashboard, there's a big raid button, and type the name of the channel. Type raid username. Who do we want to raid? I gotta find someone. This is exciting. This is gonna be my first raid. I kind of want to. I want to go back and raid Alex. I'm just gonna do it because I'm putting you on the spot, Alex. Let's see. How do we do this? I have to go to my channel. Man, I'm so bad at this stuff. Okay, no, I'm in the wrong place. This is funny. Y'all get to watch me. But okay, let's do it this way. Let's actually do it so you can see what's going on. Okay, here's my channel. No, here's my channel. It'll send us to his offline chat. Seconded. Okay. AIS Weigart. Okay, so what do we say? /raid, right? I'm on here. Raid. Oh no, let's turn that off. That'd be terrible. Stop it. Yes. Invalid username. What did I do wrong? Help. I'm terrible at this. Welcome to the chat. I want to raid. Channel. Let me just make sure I've got the right person. Ah, ALS. Got it. Oh, it's happening. Wait, no, is it happening? That's all. That didn't. Wait, raid that. Wait for the countdown. Ready to raid. Oh, I totally read that wrong. Al Swigart. Okay. At raid now. Yes. Oh, it's happening. Yay. Okay, cool.